One more week until divisional play is complete, and we have our first contenders clinching automatic playoff berths. Week number 7 is behind us, and just 2 more weeks remain in the regular season. Good evening and welcome to the WLEW Sports Network's presentation of The Strongside on Sports Radio 1021. I'm Clark Ramsey, your host, and joining me tonight is a true professional. Even has a license to prove it. Please welcome Dave Hansen.
Thanks, Clark. Happy to be here, and we got lots of great games to talk about.
Typically in studio with us is also the sports editor of the Huron Daily Tribune, Paul P. Adams. When he has the night off, he'll rejoin us next week. Regardless, though, Dave, we are starting to see the puzzle pieces fall together as suddenly the on-ramp to the road to Ford Field is approaching.
They sure are. We got four teams making the playoffs, 2 in the East, 2 in the West. Congratulations to them.
On Friday night, we saw the Elkton Pigeon Bayport Lakers take care of business of the USA Patriots to clinch at least a share of the GTC West title. We'll take a look at that game in our next segment.
We certainly will. What a shocking game. I couldn't believe the results when we were sitting there calling that game.
On tonight's show, we'll go over 11 different games from Friday, October 6th. Tonight's edition of The Strong Side is being presented on the WLEW Sports Network by Active Physical Therapy and Sports Medicine, McCormick Motors of Pigeon, Randy's Hunting Center, 269 Guns, Thumb National Bank and Trust, Ensure, better health, better life. Are you sure? You're listening to The Strong Side. Left side or right side, you're listening to The Strong Side on the WLEW Sports Network on Sports Radio 1021 and live and worldwide at WLEWsports.com. Clark Ramsey and Dave Hansen with your call tonight of The Strong Side after week number 7. We had plenty of action going through. Let's start out with your 8-player scoreboard. Here from Kindy, Michigan, the North Huron Warriors blank the Peck Pirates to move to 6-1 on the season, 22-0 for the Warriors. Akron Fairgrove falls short and gives Caseville their first victory of the season. Caseville now at 1-6 overall. They win 42-40 in Caseville. Bay City All Saints, the Catholics, take out the Ongage Bulldogs in Owendale. Final score there was 48-6 Bay City. New Haven Merritt falls short to CPS on Saturday action. CPS Tigers 36, New Haven Merritts 14. In Burton, Burton Madison Academy falls to 1-6 on the season as they lose to Dryden in Thursday action, who moves to 3-5 on the season, 48-38 for them. Deckerville hangs on in a wild one at home over Flint International as they now improve to 6-1, bounce back from that loss to Morris from the week prior. Deckerville 56, Flint International 36. From Morris, the most surprising outcome of the night, the Morris Orioles, who beat Deckerville the week before, falls to Kingston. Kingston goes on the road and takes out Morris, and they win 30-26, despite all efforts to come back in that one. And Lawrence gets absolutely murdered by Mayville, 50-6. In 8-player football.
Well, a couple surprises. Morris at home against Kingston, losing there after beating Deckerville. Most surprising game by far. I want to throw a little love to Caseville getting their first win of the year. 42-40, a good game there. And especially at Peck and North Huron, 22-0 looks like a dominant performance, but there was no score at halftime. So to see North Huron come out in the second half, make the adjustments to win that game, give them their 6th victory is very impressive. And then obviously Flint International and Deckerville, that was a ball game most of that game, and somewhere in the second half Deckerville pulled away. Not sure if the game plan changed or they adapted better, which wouldn't surprise me with the good coaching staff of the Browns and company, but that was a really good game for a very long time.
So you're starting to see the frontrunners emerge as we're approaching the postseason with the 2-division system now in 8-player football for the playoffs. North Huron would fall in the smaller division, Deckerville in the larger division, along with Morris. And it depends if Peck makes it in or not, but it's going to be interesting for the next few weeks here.
No question about it. It's already setting up Peck and Bay City kind of looking like they're the teams, and obviously that loss for Morris really puts Deckerville back into a situation where, they aren't necessarily out of winning their conference now.
And as Morris and Deckerville now each tied in divisional play at 5-1. In 11-player football, the Greater Thumb Conference was underway, the second to last week in divisional play. And we'll start out in the East. Harbor Beach takes out Brown City in a wild one there, as it was back and forth in the first half, but Harbor Beach slowly pulls away in the second half. They win 39-22 to improve to 6-1 in the season and clinches an automatic playoff berth the first time in 3 years. Sandusky goes on the road and takes out Marlette to improve to 3-4 on the season. They win 44-12. Sandusky back on track for winning. Ubly Bearcats, they did not mess around against Memphis on the road as they took them out 62-6. Ubly now also in the playoffs at 6-1.
Well, Sandusky gets a much-needed win. They moved to 3-4, but let's get to what really matters. Ubly gets win number 6. Harbor Beach gets win number 6, setting up for the clash for the East next week, which we'll be happy to call that game. But obviously the only game here in the East that really we had any concerns about was Harbor Beach. They come out and scored early. They had the lead, never let it go after they scored the second time. They played really, really well against a really tough opponent in Brown City, and I think that's just what they need is a good momentum win against a good opponent to go into Ubly and give them a heck of a game.
And, of course, Harbor Beach and Ubly will square off this Friday at 7 p.m. on Sports Radio 102.1. Clark Ramsey and Dave Hansen will have your call there on the WLW Sports Network. Moving on to the Greater Thumb West, as Reese hosting the Bad Axe Hatchets, and the Hatchets get their second victory of the year, now moving to 1-3 in divisional play. As Bad Axe scores 30 points in the first half, and that's all they need as they hung on to win 30-28 over Reese in Reese. Vassar falls short to Cass City. The Redhawks roll at home 34-22 there. Cass City scores 22 points in the first quarter and only 12 over the next 3. And, of course, the game of the week on the WLW Sports Network, the Elkton Pigeon Bayport Lakers on the road at USA. And it was all Lakers often. Final score, Lakers 42, USA 6.
You know, the week prior, we were calling the Bad Axe game, and we thought for that first half, boy, this Bad Axe team looks hungry. It's the first time all year they really looked like they kind of were getting this offense and buying into everything and realizing that they have enough talent to compete with a lot of these teams. And they played very well for a half to two-thirds of this game. They go into Reese on the road, a game we thought they had no chance. But, you know, Clark, you and I should have maybe given them a little more credit because we've seen them play well the week prior. So good for them. That's an excellent win in a tough condition to go over to Reese and win that game. Good. A lot of love for them. Cass City beats Vassar. I think Cass City, they got out to the big lead. It was just put it on cruise control. But how about Lakers? Wow, to go into USA, your division rival, and put a running clock up on them. Not once, but a second time. They absolutely dominated in that game, and it was quite shocking for us to call that game.
Well, it started out with the Jake Kretschmer show for the Elkton Pigeon Bayport Lakers. In the first quarter, 3 minutes and 47 seconds left. And Jake Kretschmer rumbles in for 1 yard out to make it 8-0. But mind you, about a minute 15 before that, at the 5:05 mark in the first quarter, Cooper Caulfield for USA, starting guard, starting linebacker, dislocated his elbow and did not return. Moving on to the second quarter, minute 45 left in the half, and Jake Kretschmer again with his second touchdown on the night. 2-point conversion fails after a 3-minute, 5-second drive covering 49 yards. It's 14-0 Lakers. On to the third quarter with a 14-0 lead. It's Jake Kretschmer for the third time of the night, this time from 15 yards away. 9:12 left in the third quarter. It's 22-0 Lakers and 6:19 left in the third. Jake Kretschmer with his fourth and final rushing touchdown of the night with 31 yards away. And this covered 26 yards in 25 seconds altogether. 28-0 Lakers after the end of the third quarter. 5 seconds into the fourth quarter, Taylor Katie decides to join the fun. He runs into the end zone, 2-point conversion for Minetti. It's 36-0 Lakers with a running clock. 5 minutes, 27 seconds left in regulation. The USA finally gets on the board with a Micah Kramer 34-yard pass to Brendan Prime and stops the running clock situation as they were finally able to move the ball 69 yards for the score over 6 minutes and 28 seconds. Lakers 36-6. And as time is expiring with the second string in, Corey Minetti for the Lakers runs in for 3 yards. The 2-point conversion did not happen because of the end of the ball game. Final score, Lakers 42, USA 6.
An absolutely outstanding performance by Lakers as they emphatically staple their seat as the Greater Thumb West champions, at least co-champions as of this week. They have to win and take care of business next week. But Jake Kretschmer was unbelievable, and I think the reason he was so good is because Wisner and Katie and even Minetti, Preston Warren, we didn't even mention him yet. These guys all had productive carries, and when this guy didn't have success, they would give it to this guy, and they never really overused anybody. But when Jake Kretschmer got the ball, man, does that kid have some wheels! And to stop and get the top speed and just a blink of an eye, he was making guys miss, leaving Patriots laying all over the place. He was fun to watch.
Jake Retchmer, only 14 carries, but 4 touchdowns on 73 yards. Corey Madej, 7 carries for 56 yards. And Preston Warren, also 7 carries for 30 yards. But leading the way was Taylor Cady with 9 carries for 99 yards and 1 touchdown. Passing the ball, Brendan Wisner was 50%, 4 for 8, no interceptions for 114 yards through the air. Taylor Cady brought in 3 of those receptions for 92 of the 114 from Wisner. For USA, not much going there. They only had 2 first downs the entire first half. And Hunter Bowen was the leading rusher with just 25 yards on 7 carries. Allen Raven, 7 carries, 18 yards. And Josh Lang, 3 carries for 8 yards total. USA on the ground, 23 carries, 58 total yards for the team. And through the air, it's 58 yards as well for 1 score. So you take a look at Micah Kramer, 6 for 10, 2 interceptions for 58 yards. And the touchdown reception to Brendan Prime, 2 catches for 32 yards in that score. Josh Lang, 2 catches, 16 yards. And Hunter Bowen, 2 catches for 10 yards. USA now falls to 4-3 on the season. They have 2 games remaining, and they have to win out if they want that automatic playoff berth into the playoffs.
And they certainly are a good enough team, very capable of doing it. Their defense is very good. They have a couple really good playmakers on offense. I really think of all the guys, Micah Kramer has really stepped up and played really well. He's really taken over the quarterback role in a passing, running, dual threat type player, but just could not protect the offensive line. They just got beat up all game long by that D-line of Lakers. The front 7 of Lakers was unbelievable. And they just couldn't get any running game going. Whether they went outside, the speed of Lakers got them. They went inside, the strength was too much. Again, while you look at Hunter Bowen, Rabin, Lang, they just could not get anything going because they couldn't get any head of speed. They were getting hit as soon as they got the ball. And that was that. And when Lakers was forcing USA to be in 3rd and 8s, 3rd and longs, that's all the game mattered. That's it, because then it's an incomplete pass or a short run, and then they're punting it away, and Lakers' offense is back on the field.
You're taking a look at the Lakers' defense. That's an impressive unit. 12 tackles for a loss, 4 sacks, 1 tip pass, and 2 interceptions for the Laker defense on the night. Blake Ryerson had 10 tackles for USA, 1 tackle for a loss. But on the other side of the ball, Preston Warren with 4 tackles for a loss and then 2 tackles on top of that. So, Dave, why don't you talk about that Laker defense for just a second here? Because I have not seen the strength and size of a front line in a number of years here in the Greater Thumb Conference.
Well, and you mentioned strength and size, and I would add another S in there. How about speed? They are strong. They are powerful. They disrupt plays, they disrupt timing. They're in the backfield constantly, and it's not the same guy. Hence why I keep saying the front 7, because any one of them could get in the backfield, disrupt the running play, even when a team that, like USA, that's very good at going play action, letting Micah Kramer control the game, throw the football when needed. They were still blowing those plays up as well, forcing him out of the pocket. And then, again, when the passes went downfield, they picked off 2 of them. And so even the back area there, the deep safety, Brendan Wisner and company, they were just very tough, and when they play as a unit like they get against USA, they are going to be a favorite come playoff time because they are going to be very difficult to beat. They don't really have a weakness outside of themselves. The penalties are stuff that'll hurt them, but they didn't turn the ball over, and they played tough in the trenches, and that's what helps you win ball games.
The Lakers now at 6-1 on the season, automatic playoff berth clinched this week, 4-0 in divisional play. They clinched at least a share of the title with a win on next week at Bad Axe. They would win it outright at 5-0. They're at Bad Axe, who's coming off a win against Reese. They sit at 2-5 in the season. For USA, they're against Vassar and against Harbor Beach to wrap up the season. And it's doable, but USA needs 2 wins out of 2 weeks to clinch an automatic playoff berth. This past segment of the Strong Side was presented by Active Physical Therapy and Sports Medicine. Life is painfully enough. No need to feel it in your back, too. That's Active Physical Therapy and Sports Medicine, just west of the light in Bad Axe, in a second location in Sandusky. When we return, we'll take a look at Brown City and Harbor Beach and Bad Axe and Reese right here on Sports Radio 1021. Listen to the WLW Sports Network in more ways than ever before. Tune into Sports Radio 102.1. Download the Cruise 102 app on your Android or Apple device, or listen live and worldwide at WLWsports.com. Clark Ramsey and Dave Hansen on the Strongside tonight on October 8th. Week number 7 is behind us. Just 2 more weeks of the regular season in front of us. Now we take a look at the Greater Thumb East as Harbor Beach and Brown City squared off in the friendly confines of the Sunrise side. And it was a low-scoring affair in the first quarter, and only with 14 seconds left in that first. Cole Anderson for Harbor Beach starts off the scoring with a 1-yard run. The PAT from Emming was good. It's 7-0 Harbor Beach. Move on to the second quarter. 5 minutes left in the half. And Brown City settles the score with a Ricky Lindsay 8-yard run. The 2-point conversion from Blevins puts Brown City ahead 8-7. 4 minutes later, 1:10 left in the quarter. Cole Anderson with his second touchdown run of the night. 2-point conversion is good from Schelke, and Harbor Beach retakes the lead 15-8. They do not look back at this point. 5 seconds remain in the first half after an interception from Brown City, and James Schelke brought that one in. And Harbor Beach, then James Schelke throws a 14-yard pass to Austin Roberts for the touchdown. 2-point conversion failed, but 5 seconds before the half, Harbor Beach with a lot of momentum, leading by 13 points going into the locker room. In the third quarter, 9:11 left in the quarter, Tyler Burkhardt runs in from 4 yards out. 2-point conversion failed. 27-8 Harbor Beach, leading now by 19. 2:35 left in the third quarter. Brown City with their second score of the night. Ricky Lindsay with his second run from 5 yards. 2-point conversion was good. 27-16. Harbor Beach now cut down to 11 points. Minute 19, a little over a minute later, James Schelke breaks out for 40 yards. Pushes it back to 33-16 after another failed 2-point conversion. And moving on to the fourth quarter with a score of 33-16. Cole Anderson with his third touchdown run of the night. PAT failed. 39-16 Harbor Beach out. And with 4:37 left in the fourth quarter, Brown City tries to make it a ball game again with Ricky Lindsay with his third touchdown of the night from 1 yard out. And that is all the scoring they can muster as Harbor Beach wins 39-22 for their 6th victory of the year. And going back to the playoffs for the first time in 3 years.
Yeah, it's crucial. That was a big win for Harbor Beach. They have a tough schedule, probably the toughest schedule in the area, with the last 2 games remaining being at Ubly and then I believe at USA. So two teams that are definitely hungry for a win. So it is important. Harbor Beach gets victory number 6, a little less pressure than they're going to be in the playoffs, but definitely an impressive victory. You know, especially they're on probably running backs number 2, 3, and 4. James Schelke carrying a big load, but nice to see guys like Cole Anderson. He struck gold 3 times. And Tyler Burkhardt, he was exciting in week 1 when he got a little some action there. He's been getting a lot more carries as the season's gone on. So Harbor Beach continues to find running backs that have stepped up big in this season, and it's paid off for them.
Harbor Beach with 5 rushing touchdowns, 1 through the air. Brown City with 3 rushing touchdowns as well. Harbor Beach now 4-0 in divisional play, 6-1 overall. They have won 5 games in a row since dropping a close one to Beaverton at Saginaw Valley in week number 2. They travel to the Backyard Brawl with the Ubly Bearcats this coming Friday, who's also exactly the same record. 4-0 divisional play, 6-1 overall. Winner takes all for the Greater Thumb East, and we'll be there to call it right with you.
Yeah, if you're a Greater Thumb East football fan, it doesn't get any better than having the 2 orange and black teams with the same record battling it out for the Greater Thumb East title. And I can't remember the last time we've had 2 very quality Greater Thumb East, Ubly, and Harbor Beach teams in the same season.
I was just going to say that at the same time. It never happens.
It doesn't seem to ever happen. But I'm going to put this out there. Ubly's ready for this game. We know they are. I think Harbor Beach is ready. But looking at this stat sheet, 1 for 5 is not very good when it comes to 2-point conversion. So I don't know if they need to continue to kick extra points and take their shots there. But that's got to be one area Harbor Beach cannot afford to give up those 2-pointers from 2 yards out. Those are going to be crucial in a rivalry game.
Brown City now falls to 2-5 on the season after putting 2 wins together entering this ball game. They are hosting the Sandusky Redskins on October 13th, Friday the 13th. Dun dun dun. Sandusky at 3-4 on the season, 2-2 in divisional play. Moving to the Greater Thumb West, Bad Axe and Reese met up in Reese, Michigan, and Bad Axe actually struck gold first. In the first quarter, Jack Clancy with a 10-yard run, 2-point conversion fails, and Bad Axe is leading 6-0. Maybe a sign for the rest of the night. Reese then has a yard run And the PAT from Robinson is good. Makes Reese out by 1.7 to 6. Bad Axe responds, though, with another Jack Clancy 2-yard run. 2-point conversion's good. Bad Axe out by 7 points, 14 to 7. And that's how the first quarter would end. Bad Axe leading by 7. Second quarter, Reese with a 5-yard rushing touchdown. PAT was good. Makes it 14 all. And then Bad Axe rolls together in a big scoring quarter for both teams. Bad Axe with back-to-back touchdowns, a 32-yard run, and then a Ryan Wayner 15-yard run. Both 2-point conversions were good. Bad Axe suddenly out 30 to 14. And then Reese, before the quarter and half is over, they throw a 35-yard pass for a touchdown. 2-point conversion was good to make it an 8-point ball game entering halftime, 30 to 22. Bad Axe leading. In the third quarter, here comes Reese with a 26-yard touchdown pass. 2-point conversion fails. And that gives the lead to still remain in Bad Axe, 30 to 28. And for the remainder of the game, no scoring from either team. Bad Axe hangs on to a 2-point lead for their second victory of the season.
An impressive win for Bad Axe. We mentioned earlier, Bad Axe played a really good half, 2/3 of a football game the week before, and it carried over into this game. But notice again, they played a great first half, put up 30 points in the first half, and didn't score again the rest of the game. Scoring 30.5 is a really good number, but you can't quit there. You have to continue to stay aggressive, move the football, stick with your game plan, make the proper adjustments. But I will say this, they only gave up 6 points in the second half, and their defense stepped up and answered the bell, and they were good enough to hold on to that 2-point win. And funny, we were just mentioning 2-point conversions. Reese having a chance to tie that game, and their 2-point conversion failed. So it's amazing how those little plays you can look back at the difference between winning and losing, or at least extending this ball game with a tie.
As far as Bad Axe is concerned, Jack Clancy led the way in the rushing attack with 29 carries for 128 yards, 2 touchdowns for him. Ryan Wayner, 18 carries, 81 yards and a score. And Martinez with 5 for 32 yards. Bad Axe rushed for 280 yards on the night, 4 touchdowns on 55 carries. No complete passes, 0 for 4 through the air. Reese had 170 rushing yards, 113 passing for a total of 4 touchdowns. Penalties, though, this had to be ugly. Reese with 71 yards, but Bad Axe says, hey, we can do one better. And the Hatchets had 106 yards in penalties on the night for a combined 177 yards between the two schools.
Wow, it looks like those yellow towels were all over the field again, Clark. It's just unbelievable. But I like what Bad Axe is doing. They run the ball 55 times. They had 280 yards on the ground. They did lose a fumble, another hiccup there. They got to continue to get better at. But I like that they're not abandoning the pass. They definitely, I especially like Ryan Wayner. Jack Clancy showed a little bit he could throw it. I really like when Ryan Wayner personally throws the ball. They certainly can do it. They have a couple big targets they can throw to. They have a couple speed threats they can throw to. And that's going to help them keep defenses off the line of scrimmage if they can hit a couple passes here and there in a game. So I certainly think that that's important that they're at least attempting it. And obviously their pass defense was pretty good because they did a good job against Reese, because we know they like to sling it at times too. But you got to mention a couple of guys too. Wyatt Humphrey Phillips, not to steal your thunder there. It's one of your favorite names in Bad Axe. 13 tackles leading the way. He was a horse on that defensive side. Crucial in the second half to help stop the Reese Rockets from scoring any more points.
Bad Axe next week hosts the Alton Pigeon Bayport Lakers in Bad Axe, who has won 6 games in a row after a Week 1 loss to Hudson, who's also undefeated on the season still. And Reese, now at 3-4 on the season, has lost 2 in a row. They are hosting the Cass City Redhawks at 6-1 on the season. Cass City, of course, hoping that if with a Laker loss and a Cass City victory, they would share the Greater Thumb West title. Cass City now has won 2 games in a row. 7:29 on Sports Radio 102.1. Well, despite some on and off rain, some wind, it turned out to be a quite reasonable and warm weekend, especially considering it's October 8th and it's still 67 degrees outside at our East Side studios of the WLAW Sports Network, broadcasting from the Clark Ramsey Manor, life, liberty, and the pursuit of luxury. Book your stay today or like them on Facebook. That's the Clark Ramsey Manor. 67 degrees, and we'll see what the weather forecast is looking for from this point on. Paul Janis is standing by with your forecast. Paul Janis. Left side or right side, you're listening to The Strong Side on Sports Radio 102.1 and live and worldwide at WLWSports.com. Clark Ramsey and Dave Hansen with your week number 7 Strong Side affair. And now let's take what we're going to call the quick hits, as we're going to go through 8 different football games in the next 15 minutes. Hang on for your hats. In Sandusky, they took out Marlette 44-12. It was 22-6 at halftime. They extended out to 36-12 through the third quarter for Sandusky, and 44-12 is your final. Sandusky finally gets back on the winning ways with a 3-4 record now. They rushed for 307 yards for 5 touchdowns, 75 yards through the air. Marlette, 80 yards rushing, 131 yards passing. Marlette now 1-6 on the season, losing every game since week 1.
Yeah, Marlette's been on the rebound here for a season or two now, but Sandusky on their way back, played really well. Joe Wenzel, though, gets your game ball. He was absolutely outstanding. 3 touchdowns on the ground, 171 of those 307 yards rushing, and 3 of those 5 TDs. They did put the ball on the turf 3 times. Fortunately, only lost 1 of them, but those are a couple things I got to be careful of. I know we didn't get to see all of Joe Wenzel in the game we covered, Clark, so it was good to see him back on the field and absolutely tearing up Marlette.
Sandusky's at Brown City this Friday at 2-5 on the season there. Marlette at 1-6 goes and hosts the Memphis Yellow Jackets at 0-7.
And keep in mind, Sandusky happens to win the next 2 games, get to 5 wins. At least there's a chance that the MHSAA playoff gods decide to let them in.
Moving on to Ubley in Memphis, it was all Ubley often. Ubley 62, Memphis 6. Now taking a look at the schedule moving forward here. Ubley, of course, facing off with Harbor Beach this Friday for the Greater Thumb East Championship. Both teams at 4-0 divisional play, 6-1 overall, and talk about bragging rights as well. And then they finish up the regular season at Bad Axe, who's 2-5.
And look at it this way. I mean, they're obviously focused on the task at hand, and it's the East Championship, so they very much are trying to figure out how to slow down Harbor Beach's offense. Bad Axe is not going to be a pushover, though. They have played better the last 2 weeks. They're going to continue to get better, in my estimation, so you can't lay down to them. Bad Axe certainly could play spoiler, and as for Memphis, they will lose their last 2 games and go 0-9.
Memphis is at Marlette, who is 1-6 on the season. Marlette should take care of them. And then they're hosting to finish out the regular season Clarkston Everest Collegiate at 6-1 in the season. That may not be pretty either. Cass City and Vassar faced off in the Greater Thumb West on Friday, and Cass City had a huge first quarter, scoring 22 points and led after 12 minutes, 22-8. They would score again once in the second quarter and once in the fourth quarter for 34 total points. Vassar with 22 points. Cass City rushed for 454 yards on the night, 0 through the air. Brendan Hamilton leading the charge with 197 yards, 4 touchdowns, and that put him over the 1,000-yard mark on the season. Just took him 7 games to do so. And on top of that, he also had 10 tackles.
Yeah, keep in mind the 4 touchdowns aren't bad either. Nick Perry, always getting overlooked, 159 yards and a score. Sandon Cathrall picked 2 passes off on defense, and Luke Stern had 7 tackles to go with his 53 yards on offense. This is a dangerous Cass City team. It's not a team you want to run into in the playoffs. They are 6-1 in their own right. They're only lost to Lakers, looking for a little help from the West. Very unlikely they're going to get it, but they play at Reese and then home against Carroll. Reese 3-4. Caro is 2-5. They're going to be favored in both of those games, and a good chance for them to finish 8-1.
So what they're really fighting for now is that first game in the postseason to be at home.
You'd love for that game to be in Cass City if you're a Cass City fan, obviously.
Moving on to 8-player football, Kingston with the upset of the week, taking out the Morris Orioles in Morris. And it was 6-0 at the end of the first quarter. Kingston. In the second quarter, both teams scored twice, and it's a 10-point lead at the half for Kingston, leading 22-12. In the third quarter, both teams score again. Kingston's 2-point conversion is good. Morris's is not. It's 30-18. Kingston by 12, entering the final 12 minutes. In the fourth quarter, Kingston does not score, but Morris throws 8 more points on the board, and that's all they could do as Kingston hangs on to a 30-26 victory to give Morris their first loss of the season.
I think there's something about Kingston that Morris just doesn't like. In their last time they met last season, Kingston beat Morris 22-20. So Kingston kind of has Morris's number, I think. Not that necessarily matters, but Kingston's got they both have decent matchups next week. Kingston's at New Haven Merritt. They're 3-4. And Morris is at Larry. They're 3-4 as well, both coming off losing streaks. And any chance to make the playoffs, those two teams got to win. So Kingston and Morris can't lay down yet. The their conference championships, the Stars and Stripes, are all on the line yet.
For Morris, they were led by Hunter Nowak with 25 carries, 147 yards. Austin Eddington, 8 carries, 90 yards, and 3 touchdowns rushing the ball.
That's pretty efficient, 8 carries and 3 touchdowns.
Averaging a first down every time he touched the ball. Deckerville and Flint International, and the final score was Deckerville 56, Flint International House of Pancakes 36, but it was not that distant of a game up to that point. High-scoring first half, Deckerville led after 2 quarters, 30-28. Deckerville scores twice in the third and 2 more times in the fourth quarter. Flint International scored only once in the second half. It was 30-28, 44-28 at the end of the third, and Deckerville throws on 12 more points in the fourth quarter. Flint International scores that only touchdown in the fourth, 56-36. Deckerville now bounces back from that loss at Morris the week before at 6-1, and thanks to Kingston, they are now tied in the division with Morris at 5-1 apiece. Deckerville at Peck this coming week, and then they wrap up the regular season with a non-divisional game against Burton Madison, who's 1-6.
Well, Deckerville, the concerning part about me is just a couple weeks ago we were talking about how they are destined to be back in the state championship, and all of a sudden get upset by Morris. They give up 36 points to Flint International, 28 of them coming in the first half. Concerning point for me is not the offense, the dominant defense. Where did it go? What's going on? I know Cole Rumsick's been banged up. I know Cruz Ibarra's been hurting, and I know they've been struggling trying to get healthy, but this is a really close game. I hope this is because Flint International is a really good football team, and Deckerville needed all this to beat them, but it doesn't get any easier from here. Peck is not a team that you want to mess around with at Peck yet. They're 4-3. They're hungry for a playoff spot as well, so the road doesn't get a lot easier for Deckerville. They get past that game. Burton Madison's only 1-6. That will be a nice game for them to get into winning ways before playoff time.
Flint International had 5-2 on the season, 4-2 divisional play. Their 2 losses would be Morris and Deckerville. North Huron and Peck faced off in Kindy on Friday, and North Huron was tied at halftime, 0-0, where the North Huron scores 22 unanswered points in the final 24 minutes to pull out a 22-0 victory and to move on to 6-1 in the season, 5-0 in divisional play in the Stripes division. Mike Craig leads the way with 188 yards rushing, 1 touchdown. That man's been a beast all season. John Hoodie, 45 yards rushing. Austin Levine, 19 yards for him. Frank Duda gets in for a touchdown, and Ty Knobloch at the quarterback position, 70 yards passing for 1 touchdown as well. So some good numbers there from North Huron as they continue to roll through the NCTL Stripes.
Yeah, an impressive win for North Huron. Everything brand new to them, new coach, but they've had some good players step up. Mike Craig especially, Ty Knobloch settling in at quarterback. North Huron 6-1. Next week is kind of delay the inevitable. They're going to play Owen Gage next week, 1-6. Certainly going to like their odds of winning that game, but it's all roads lead to a North
McCormick
Huron.
Runners, no, never mind.
That could be North Huron against Bay City All Saints at 6-1 as well. All signs point to that game being for the conference championship.
That would be hard to say, sir. They're each outstanding in their own way.
So for North Huron, they're out again, like they said, against Owen Gage. Now, this is the second time North Huron and Owen Gage will square off. Their first meeting did not count for divisional standings. This one will be the one that goes in the books for those keeping score at home. I learned that myself today. Bay City All Saints and Owen Gage played in Owendale this past Friday, and the All Saints with 48 points, Owen Gage with 1 lone score at 6. It was 28-0 after the first quarter, 8 more points in the second quarter for All Saints to lead 36-0 at half. And the second half was all just but academic. Owen Gage was led by Andrew Parteka with 12 carries, 58 yards, and a score. Aaron Farner at quarterback, 4 for 11 in passing for just 34 yards. But on the defensive side of the ball, he had 12 tackles, and Luke Redford had 11 tackles. All Saints now at 5-1 in the season. Plays against Mayville this coming Friday, and then at North Huron at 6-1. That's going to be a good game.
Again, Bay City All Saints taking care of Owen Gage, taking care of business. They got a fairly tough opponent, but it's at home. They have Mayville next week, and as long as they get by them, they're going to have to go up into North Huron and battle for the Stripes Championship. It should be a really good game. Normally the last week of the season, Clark, there's not a lot of great games. That's going to be one of them that we're definitely going to keep our eye on, looking forward the next 2 weeks.
And moving on to our final game here in the Quick Hits, Caseville and Akron Fairgrove. I do believe it was homecoming night in Caseville, and they bring home the victory, the first time of the season, as it was a tie ball game 20-20 at halftime. But Caseville went 2 for 3 in 2-point conversions to win by 2 points, 42-40. Caseville Eagles victorious.
Seems to be the theme of the night. 2-point conversions worked in Caseville's favor, and what an exciting game for them. It's been a struggle for their program the last couple of years. Great to see them have homecoming, have such an intriguing game where I'm sure fans couldn't leave their seats. It was back and forth game, tied at halftime, and Caseville pulls out the victory, 42-40. A fun game to be through, and nice for them to get in the winning ways.
7:46 on Sports Radio 102.1. When we return, we'll take a look at the projections of the MHSAA playoffs as well as our week number 8 schedule right here on Sports Radio 102.1. Left side or right side, you're listening to the Strongside on the WLW Sports Network. Clark Ramsey and Dave Hansen wrapping up in our last segment here as we take a look to week number 8 of the regular season. Hard to believe we've gotten this far already, but here we are. Let's take a look at the 8-player division standings and lineup as in Bay City, the Mayville Wildcats will travel to take on the All Saints. Mayville at 4-3, Bay City All Saints at 6-1. Kingston at 5-2 travels to New Haven and take on the Merritts. 5-2 for Kingston, coming off of that Morris victory on the road. See if they can continue on as they take on 3-4 New Haven Merritt. Dryden and CPS. Dryden 3-5, CPS at 3-4. As Carsonville, Port Sanilac hosts that one. Deckerville and Peck on Friday. Deckerville at 6-1, Peck at 4-3. And all these up to this point are non-divisional. The NCTL is kind of taking this week off, and then they wrap up their divisional races in week number 9. Flint International and Caseville. Flint International at 5-2, losing to Deckerville and Morris only on the season. They are traveling to Caseville. Not sure if this game is going to happen. Check your local listings to make sure this one is actually up and running. We'll keep you up to date on that one as well. Owen Gage and North Huron. Owen Gage at 1-6, North Huron at 6-1 in Kindy this Friday. And then our last, that was NCTL Stripes matchup actually for that one. In another Stripes matchup, Burton Madison Academy at 1-6 takes on Akron Fairgrove in Fairgrove, who's 0-7. That should be an interesting one. And then in the NCTL Stars, the only divisional game in that one, Morris at 6-1 at Lawrence, who's 3-4.
Now, the games that intrigue me the most, first of all, I want to know how Kingston responds to upsetting Morris this past week. Morris upset Deckerville, had what we would call a hangover. Kingston goes ahead and beats Morris. Now we'll see if Kingston has the same issue with New Haven Merritt. The other game that's intriguing to me is how Mayville and Bay City All Saints looks. Mayville scores a lot of points. They're going to push Bay City All Saints. We'll see how well that preps Bay City for the North Huron team.
And moving on to the Greater Thumb Conference, it's the final week of divisional play as Cass City and Reese face off in Reese on Friday at 7 p.m. in the Greater Thumb West. Cass City at 6-1 and Reese at 3-4. Cass City, of course, hoping for a little help from Bad Axe to take out the Lakers, and with the Cass City victory, they would share the Greater Thumb West Conference division, I should say. Vassar at USA. Vassar at 2-5. USA at 4-3, coming off that shellacking from Lakers this past week. Hopefully USA healthy for this one. And the Elkton Pigeon Bayport Lakers, looking to win the outright divisional title in the Greater Thumb West, enters the game at 4-0 and 6-1 overall. They travel to the county seat of Huron, Bad Axe, at 1-3 and 2-5 overall.
There's only the biggest game here to me is, can USA rebound and beat Vassar, because they need to beat Vassar and prepare themselves for week number 9 at Harbor Beach as their chance to lock themselves into the playoff game. That's the game we're looking at most. I like Cass City's odds of winning that game, and I certainly like, even though Bad Axe has played better, I think it's Lakers to lose. I certainly think they're on a real roll right now.
In the Greater Thumb East, Brown City plays host to the Sandusky Redskins. Sandusky at 3-4, Brown City at 2-5. But do not let their record fool you. They are a good football team. Memphis at 0-7 on the road at Marlette. 1-6 for the Red Raiders in Marlette on Friday. And the game of the week on the WLEW Sports Network, you'll have Clark Ramsey and Dave Hanson with your call as the Harbor Beach Pirates at 4-0 in divisional play take on the 4-0 Ubly Bearcats. Both teams at 6-1 overall. And both teams have not lost since week number 2. So this is going to be one for all the marbles. The Greater Thumb East Division title on the line. Winner takes all.
I still want to mention Sandusky. A tough game there at Brown City. Should be an intriguing game. Sandusky still with that outside chance maybe to get in the playoffs. So that game's going to be a little interesting. But there's really one game that matters. It matters to both of us and everybody around. It's the battle for orange and black, the bragging rights, the Eastern Division Championship. It's going to be a fantastic game, and I cannot wait until Friday night, because you know Ubly and Harbor Beach, when they get together, it's not much of a dance. It's going to be hard hitting, and it's going to be 4 quarters of just bloodbath.
It's also that game where the relatives of each family don't know what side of the stands to sit on because they're all related in one way or another. All right, let's take a look at the Snooze to You projections for the MHSA playoffs. And, of course, if you've not checked out Snooze to You, you are missing out. Snooze to You is the most accurate and reliable source for MHSA football playoff projections. Go to snooze, the number 2, YOU, snoozetoyou.com. And it's a free service, and Snooze is just an awesome guy who does this out of the goodness of his heart, and just because he loves high school football. He's a computer engineer, so he kind of has a system figured out, and he is accurate. Even to the MHSA is acknowledged what they are and kind of go off this as well. So what's the storyline here all the way through is where the cutoff for Division 7 and Division 8 is going to be. Before this week number 7 took place, we had the projections through 6 weeks. And according to Snooze to You, Cass City, Reese, Lakers, and USA would be all in the same region. Now, mind you, the week before, in week 5 projections, Snooze to You had Lakers in Division 8. It is that close on who is going to make in Division 7 and who's going to make in Division 8. Now, granted, with the Reese loss against Bad Axe, that's going to take them out of the playoffs more than likely, and now they are at 3-4. And so, taking a look at how they are divided out is school enrollment per MHSA numbers. And if you take a look at the enrollment numbers per the MHSA, Reese is at 301, USA 267, Lakers 263, just 4 less, and that's what the difference was in week number 5 and 6 is for the projections. Then Ubly at 243 and Harbor Beach at 218, and just for reference, Deckerville at 177. So with Reese at 301 being out of the playoffs, that bumps pretty much everyone down and brings Lakers up to Division 7. So USA at 267, Lakers at 263. That demarcation line is going to be somewhere right in there.
Somewhere, with Reese almost certainly dropping out, it's going to bump USA at 267, and we think Lakers at 263 into Division 7. So somewhere between 243 and 263, a little closer to that 260 number, is kind of the cut line that Clark and I are envisioning right now as being the cut line. And it's going to be interesting because, again, this could all change with another 5-win team. If Reese happens to win, get to 5 wins and get the good graces and get back into the playoffs, this could slide everybody back down. And there's any other teams out there that we may not know of that are on the bubble. Could completely change us again. But as of right now, we're very confident that 260 number roughly is the cut line.
And what's interesting here in these Division 7 projections from Snooze to You is that there's not a familiar face and name in these Division 7 numbers, and that's Traverse City St. Francis. Because now with 64 8-player teams in the state, that's kind of bumping everyone down. So if you're Division 7, close to the number, and you take out those 8-player teams, that shifts the lines accordingly. And so now Traverse City St. Francis projected to be in Division 6. Moving on to the Division 8 projections and 2 familiar names there. The Ubley Bearcats and Harbor Beach Pirates, both projected to be in Division 8. And it's very close as far as the playoff points go. Ubley, last I checked the MHS website, and Harbor Beach, they are within a point of each other as far as playoff points go. So whoever wins this Friday pretty much is going to be the home team in that next game. So it's going to be mighty interesting. Of course, Ubley with more playoff points at the moment. Harbor Beach losing to Beaverton, who's undefeated at this point, so they're getting a few more points there as how all the points come out together. It's a big mess.
Basically, the better opponent you play, if you beat them, you get more points. But even if you lose to them, it doesn't hurt you too bad, especially if they play very well. So in this case, Beaverton's played very well, so that loss is what you consider a good loss on Harbor Beach's schedule. So looking at that, this game means even more now for the Bearcats and the Pirates, because the winner probably locks up a home field advantage game in a rematch is the way it's expected to go now. So we'll see, but there's still a lot to change, but that certainly could be intriguing enough. If you like Harbor Beach and Ubley, how about let's go round 2 within a matter of maybe 3 weeks?
And of course, on the other side of that district would be Saginaw Novell at 6-0 through 6 weeks, and Clarkson Everest Collegiate, and Beale City, Mount Pleasant Sacred Heart, Fulton, and Frankfort in that region.
One important note, too, is Muskegon Catholic Central, the powerhouse favored in Division 8, is on the other side of the region. So if any of our teams were fortunate enough to make a run, they wouldn't see them until Ford Field.
In 8-player football in Division 2, so this is the smaller division. This is the first year that the 8-player game has been split up, and it has North Huron and Peck in Division 2, and those are really the only close area teams. We also have Bay City All Saints and Hale would be in that region, and then Flint International Academy and Portland St. Patrick, Waldron, and Battles Creek St. Philip. Moving on to Division 1 8-player football, you have a whole region of NCTL teams. You have Morris, Mayfield, Deckerville, and Kingston squaring off, and then Lawrence would be in the other region because they are so far to the west. They're almost by Kalamazoo in the North Central Thumb League. And the other side, you'd have Stevenson, Brimley, Rudyard, Ontonagon, Central Lake, Suttons Bay, and Wyoming Tri-Unity Christian Brethren. So a lot still to be said and a lot to be played in these final 2 weeks of high school football regular season. And we'll be broadcasting from Ubley this Friday, coverage starting at 6:10 p.m. on Sports Radio 102.1, live and worldwide at WLWSports.com. Harbor Beach at Ubley.
One of my favorite rivalries for personal reasons, but can't wait for that game. Those are two of the best teams in the area, and they're going to face off in the East. And again, as being part of that rivalry for a very long time, I know what it means to both schools, and it's going to be an absolute pleasure to call that game.
So congratulations to Harbor Beach, Ubley, Lakers, and Cass City for all clinching automatic playoff berths in the MHSA playoffs. And you've been listening to The Strongside on Sports Radio 102.1.